Sometimes I don't know how certain things pop up on my timeline or my recommendeds on YouTube, but I guess just how the algorithm works. But I was scrolling through and this particular video popped up on my page from this YouTube channel. I believe it's called Black Menaces, and it's hosted by this guy right here. You can see it's a screenshot. That's him right there on the right, and he's the one holding the microphone in this old man's face who kind of looks like a Temu version of Colonel Sanders. And he basically went to the Charlie Kirk memorial or vigil or whatever you want to call it that they had in Arizona for him about a month ago. And he's just posted up the video, and he basically went there asking people different questions about different things, you know, just to see what the temperature was in relation to Charlie Kirk and some of his ideology. And it was just like, it was like I felt like I was leaking brain fluid just listening to a lot of the nonsense that they were spewing, because this is actually a longer video. The video itself is about 20 minutes long, but I just wanted to get this part right here because what this old man was saying, he probably said some of the most ridiculous things out of everybody that was there, and he was the oldest person that this guy spoke to. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna insert one clip because it was broken up into two clips. Well, his part was, it wasn't just one long clip, it was broken up. So I'm gonna insert this one clip and we're gonna go over what he said in this first part. Like I'm telling you, it goes from bad to worse.
White supremacist groups have largely led to violence multiple times. It's not even a theoretical argument. They have killed thousands of black people. Black people have hung on trees. 10,000
How long ago was that?
2 weeks ago when Trey Reed was killed.
There's no proof. That was ruled as a. That was ruled.
George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery.
Again, George Floyd died from a drug overdose.
No,
he didn't.
Okay, Ahmaud Arbery, he was shot in clear day by white supremacists in his neighborhood.
Okay, that's an isolated incident.
Breonna Taylor, shot by the police.
That was a mistake made by the police.
What about Emmett Till?
Who?
Emmett Till.
Name who that
Okay,
is.
Trayvon Martin, killed by George Zimmerman. You see what I'm saying?
Trayvon Martin killed by who?
George Zimmerman. This is my point. There's a lot of evidences of white supremacists killing people.
Who did the Proud Boys kill?
I mean, I can't say.
There isn't anybody. Antifa has murdered several people, especially trans Tifa, which is the trans part of Antifa. I don't know their names, but there's several of them on the East Coast. I might get all my news from Twitter.
You say you get all your news from Twitter. How do you fact check your news after you receive it?
I certainly don't get shit from CNN, MSNBC that does not fact check. They sit there and lie.
You get off Twitter, then how do you fact check after Twitter? What's your process?
What's your process?
I did a lot of research, a lot of scholarly reports. You read scholarly reports now.
I do research on my own.
I'm asking, with who?
With who do you do it with?
I just told you, scholarly reports. I read them. What do you look at? What is your research?
Those reports.
Every university in the world puts out research.
Freaking universities, I don't trust for a second either. Hell no.
So who should we trust to do studies?
Crap.
Who should we trust to do studies?
Indoctrinated our kids. That's why Charlie Kirk.
So you just heard the first part of the clip, and like I tell you, I'm gonna insert the next part after I go over this. So the host asked the guy, you know, talking about lynchings and things that have happened with black people, and have you heard about him? He brought up Trey Reed. Then the guy cuts him off and says that he starts to say something, but then he didn't finish his point. And then the host brings up George Floyd, and he says George Floyd died of a drug overdose. Then he brought up Breonna Taylor. Oh, that was an isolated incident. No, he said Ahmaud Arbery was an isolated incident. Then he said Breonna Taylor. Oh, that was an accident. I mean, look at the amount of excuses that he gives every time a black person ended up losing their life to a suspected white supremacist in some regard. He gave a deflective excuse every single time. Then the worst part that, and I know I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, is when he said that this old man said that he gets his news from Twitter. I think that was probably the most ridiculous part of the entire exchange. He said out of his own mouth, and y'all heard it for yourself, I get my news from Twitter. And you want to know what's interesting? I believe him, because many of the people who idolize Charlie Kirk, for the most part, that's exactly where they get their news from. They got it from Twitter. They do not research at all. Still going back to that live that I did when I was talking about Michael Rappaport. He said that he doesn't research anything. He just goes off of what he sees on Twitter or online, and he just reacts to it. Again, these people do not read. They do not research at all. None of that. But then also when he brought up Emmett Till, he said, what about Emmett Till? And he said, who? And I'm sitting there saying to myself, how do you not know who? You look like you was old enough to be young, well, at least young enough or born when that happened or when that occurred. If this man is in his 70s, he was definitely around when with what Emmett Till happened, or at least should be old enough to know about that story. And he said, who? He said who? And even when he said Trayvon Martin, he acted like he was clueless about that too. And that was way, way, way more recent. So again, these individuals, these are the people that loved Charlie Kirk. People like this guy. But like I said, it goes from bad to worse. And the thing is, I think this one was worse. I don't know what you can say is more worse than worse, maybe atrocious. But let me go ahead and insert the next clip.
Charlie Kirk was murdered respectfully because he constantly spewed hatred, hateful rhetoric.
What did he say that was hateful?
I have a link right here actually for you. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder if she's there because of her excellence or there for performative action.
You know, I think I heard about that. I think I heard about that quote. Yeah. I think it was taken out of context. I think he was talking about like DEI, because a lot of his quotes are taken out of context and being used against him. But I'm not saying that is.
Or what about reject feminism? Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge. How do you feel about that? You feel good about submitting to your husband, Taylor? I mean, these are real things he said.
Yeah,
right?
You're taking a lot of these out of context.
What about we need to have a Nuremberg-style trial for every gender-affirming clinic doctor? We need it immediately.
I agree.
Nuremberg style. He
Absolutely.
even said we should have live public executions that should be sponsored by Coca-Cola and watched by kids. You think that's all God-fearing? That's what a God-fearing man apparently said.
He did not say that.
I mean,
you're full of shit.
The other problem with death penalty, it takes too long, too many appeals. Expensive. It should be public, it should be quick, it should be televised. You could have like brought to you by Coca-Cola. And no, I'm not kidding. By the way, I would totally tune in to see some pedo get their head chopped off.
Andrew's saying don't make kids watch it, and I think no, the absolute
I think
opposite.
at a certain age, it's an initiation.
I don't give a shit. You're full of shit. You guys only put out half quotes and shit and try to pin people.
In what context would it be? Would it be okay to say reject feminism, submit to your husband? In what context is that okay?
Goddamn communist cocksucker.
So that was the second clip right there, and I didn't even realize, but it also had a little bit in there from when he was interviewing some other people as well when they were talking about it. And notice that what both groups said, the younger group and this older guy, out of context, out of context. Notice they have been using that out of context line a lot lately, and it's like, sure, you can say that's out of context, but then when you pull up the full context of what was fully said from this alleged out of context quote or statement, it makes it even worse. It doesn't help their argument at all for them to say out of context for something that when you pull up the full context of what you're trying to say is out of context, it's like 10 times worse. So I don't even know why they're saying out of context. It's like their go-to thing to try to deflect or get out of something. And again, going into here, the host of this show or whatever, this program that he has, asking this man a question on statements that Charlie Kirk said. Like, he's literally reading what Charlie Kirk has said word for word. These are his quotes, whether you can read it in a text form or even pull up video of him saying this, and he inserted it there, and the guy is still saying it's out of context or that it's fake and it's full of crap and all this, that, and the third. But again, these individuals, they have already programmed in their mind that whatever Charlie Kirk said was gospel, because he was a quote unquote man of God. You know, he believed in this, that, and the third, and whatever he said, they believe, because they need something to believe in, because everything else that they have believed in around them appeared to be false narratives. But this person right here who put out false narratives is somehow to be believed. It is absolutely crazy how all of this just plays itself out. Like I said, this is a much longer video. What I'll do is I'll leave the link in the description if anybody wants to watch the entire video. It's about 20 minutes long, but I really wanted to pull from this part right here. The rest of it is just as ridiculous as this, but I thought this was interesting with this older guy because of his age. This is the mindset that he has. You would think someone who was more younger than him, like maybe a grandchild, would probably have that mindset that he has, but no, he comes from that elder generation that still has that same mindset of how he feels, which leads me to believe that he probably has attended a picnic or two, if you get what I mean. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.